Hello again and welcome back to the channel. My name is Annie and this is my creative detour. I hope you're all having a wonderful week, and we're about halfway through the ABC challenge that is ran by Margaret at Seven Plaza and Toni at Crafty by Toni. And I've been playing along with a few different letters, and today we're going on with the letter N. Now, if you're interested in knowing about the challenge, I will link both Margaret and Toni's channel below, and I'll also put the hashtag down below for you to click on that and have a look at all of the other people that are participating in the challenge. But as I said, we're going on with the letter N today, and I am doing narrow newspaper notebooks. So you can see that I have made this one out of a newspaper print, and I've formatted it so that it is a narrow notebook and it has a knotted closure. When it opens up, it is all bits of different types of notebook paper that I have just stitched together, and I used a 3-hole pamphlet stitch to stitch it in, you can see there, and we'll do that on camera today. It's just a little notebook that you can use for whatever you like. I've put stamped notes on the front of it. And the great thing is I was using some leftover pages out of random notebooks that I had hanging around in my stash. So it's great for using up just those random pages. So let's get set up and I'll show you how to make it today. Okay, so let's have a little look at a few measurements. First up, now you can see that I have a piece of cardstock, and this is around 250 GSM. I'm not sure what that is in pounds, but in width we've got 16.5 centimeters, which is 6.5 inches wide, and in length we've got 20.3 centimeters, which is 8 inches, and I've got a piece of newspaper print, but I actually got it out of this book that I got from my thrifting, and it has a whole lot of different newspapers in it from different periods. So, and it's titled Over 115 Years of News from the Daily Telegraph Mirror. It was published in 1995 and it goes from 1879 to 1995. It's got quite thick pages, which made it perfect for this project, and it's all different newspapers of major events over that 115 years. So I took out a couple of pages out of that. I could have used newspaper, but because of the sheen level on this, I just thought that it would be a little bit more hard wearing than what the newspaper would be on the front of the notebook. Now, the size of that is the same height, so once again it's 20.3, which is 8 inches, and I just cut it the width of the page that was in the book, and it's a little bit wider, and the reason is I'm just going to use it as pockets. So it's measuring 24 centimeters, which is just under 9.5 inches. And you can see that in the notebook, I just used that as an opportunity to put a little pocket in the front and the back. So I didn't cut that excess off. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to glue this cardboard thoroughly to our paper. So I'm just going to use glue stick, and I'm going to give it a very, very good heavy coating, especially around the perimeter of the cardstock. And I'm not going to skimp because I really want this to set. Okay, so now I'm just going to position that on my page, line it up at the bottom, and it should line up at the top because I cut it exactly the same, and we'll give that a really good burnish. And I'm going to now leave that and let that sit under my mat for a few hours. So I actually made one earlier. You can see that it's a different piece of paper, but the same process. So now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to fold that excess over, and once again fold this one over, and I'm going to just start folding and burnishing the card with a little bit of a curve so that it likes the idea of bending around my notebook. You can see I'm giving it a little bit of a coaxing of burnishing it. The next thing is to compile all of your papers, and you can put whatever papers in that you like. It doesn't matter. You can see that I have them all down. Now they're slightly smaller than the height of the book. So they're 20 centimeters exactly, which is 7 7/8. And they're measuring about 8.2 centimeters wide, which is 3 3/16 in width. And I have 10 pages, and I'll show you that I have lined paper, I have a piece of trace, I have some blank paper, I have some grid paper, brown paper, and then it repeats, some lined paper, a little piece of offcut from the pages out of the book, some cartridge paper for drawing on, another piece of grid paper, and another piece of lined paper. So a bit of a mixed bag. Most of it I took out of old notebooks. So the next thing is we're going to just slowly fold our cover and coax it down. I don't want to put it into the scoreboard and score it because it doesn't need to be scored. Okay, it's getting closer now. So there we go. Now I can put the pages in, and I can give it a little bit of a burnish now and convince it to fold where I want it to fold. So I'm just gradually coaxing the cardboard to fold in the right spot, and that's looking good. And now it doesn't have a tight score on the end. It's more of a rounded edge to it. If I put it in the scoreboard and scored it, it would have been a really tight score on the edge, which I didn't want. I wanted it to go around the paper rather than, create a line. Okay, I'm happy with that. And what we're going to do now is we're going to use my template. So I have made a template that I used for this one, and the template is the same height as our notebook, which is 20.3 or 8 inches, and I measured up around about 2 centimeters from the top and bottom, which is 3/4 of an inch, and then I put one in the middle as well at 4 inches. So I'll get some paper clips out, and I'm going to put my template inside my notebook in the middle, and I'm going to use some paper clips to hold everything together nice and snug. And I have an awl, and I'm going to just get that started, push that through a little bit on my template, on those dots that I drew. And you can see that I'm holding the book up, so it goes down through the middle of the bend rather than sidewards. So I've got that started with the awl. Now I'm going to go through with the thick darning needle and hold it flat and push that through. Careful not to get myself. So there we go. It's got some holes in it. And now I'm going to get some embroidery floss and just thread a darning needle And with a 3-hole pamphlet stitch, you can see that we've got 3 holes. I'm going to go in through the middle and leave a little tail. Then I'm going to go up through the top hole, then down through the bottom hole and back out. And then I'm going to hold the end of my thread here and start to pull it a little bit tight. Then I'll pull this up to the top, I'll pull it towards me, and then I'm going to go back through that hole and middle hole, and I'm not going to split the thread, so I don't want to go through the thread, and I want to go on the other side of my middle line. So you can see here I've got the thread on one side, I've got the big thread going there, and then my needle's coming through. So I can pull that through now and take the needle off and give that a really good firm tug, and I can tie a knot in it, and it's going to tie a knot over the top of that middle line, and I'll do 3 knots. Okay, now you can see that I have sewn in my template, and I often do that, but that's okay. I'll just tear that out because I don't need it anymore. And there we go, there's our nice neat 3-hole pamphlet stitch, and I'll give it a good burnish, and there is our notebook, nice and snug and tight, and it's easy to do. Okay, so that's pretty good. Now what we can do now is we can glue down our pockets at the front. So I might just put a little bit of ink on that before I glue it down. So let's just ink that edge. And we'll do the other side. Okay, so I've put a little bit of ink on it, so I'm just going to put a bead of glue on either end of my pocket and glue that shut. And we'll do the back as well. So they come together fairly quickly, actually. The thing that takes the longest with putting notebooks together is compiling all of your pages and cutting all your pages. So there we go, I'm really happy with that. It looks nice, and it will make a really lovely little gift for somebody. So let's now decorate it. Now I have stamped out notes on some washi tape, so I might just tear the washi tape so that it's got a crooked edge. That's our nameplate. And I have, so I've got 2 of those, one for the top and one for the bottom. I have a couple of number plates, and these are digitals from Double Helix, and I will link those below. And I've got some letters, and I've pulled out the letter N. Now this one is from J. Lee Lou. I will put both of their Etsy stores down below for you to have a look at their digitals. But I'm going to decorate it very similar to the one that I just did. I also have some clocks, and these are from All and Create, and they're number 26, and it's called TikTok. So I'm going to pull out a clock. Yes, I'm happy with that. So all I'm going to do now is I'm going to ink all these up and glue them on, and I'll just rough up that face a little bit with some vintage photo. So we're going to start with figuring out where our letter N needs to go, because it's going to dictate the middle for our lash. I've got some faux leather lashing here that we're going to use as our tie. So let's glue this one on. We know the position of that. So let's put a little bead of glue there just to hold that for the moment. And I'm just going to put a hole in my letter N, and I'm going to pop an eyelet in that. So we'll finish gluing down this now. And we can position some of our washi up here. Let's give it a little bit of inking. And we can now work out where we're going to put our letter N and our clock so that we can put this piece of washi on. So I'm going to tuck that up across the top there. So let's stick that on. Yes, so I hope everyone's been enjoying the challenge. I'm pre-recording this before I go on holidays, but I have been enjoying it. I have been enjoying the challenge. Glue the clock on. That looks good, doesn't it? I'm happy with that. And now we might just in a little bit of Toni's washi here and just run a small bit of washi there. It might need a little bit of glue under it just to hold it. Just going to run a bead of glue there. And now I'm going to get my lash and I'll tell you how long that is. It's around about 70 centimeters, which is 28 inches. So I'm just going to tie a little loop in it, and I'm just tying a knot. It's kind of like a slip knot, but you can tie a nice little knot however you like, and I'm tying it quite close to the end. I'm not doubling up the knot. I'm not doubling up the thread. It does slip slightly until I tighten it. So you can see that I'm just doing it so that this little loop here is not too big. And I'm going to tighten that now so that it stops slipping. And I'm going to threadle that up from the back through my eyelet in my letter N. And I'm going to now put glue on the back of my letter N. And I'm going to tuck that under my clock and get it sitting nicely where I want it, and glue that down. And then I'll put a little bit of glue underneath my clock and seal that down. And I'm also going to put some glue underneath here. So you can see I'm going to glue this little bit here and get a paper clip, glue that down, and just put the paper clip on it so that it holds it down. You might squeeze a little bit of glue under there, and I'm going to do the same here. I'm just going to let that glue, and while it's gluing, I'll clear the decks and we'll come back and we'll finish it off with a few splatters, and I'll show you where we're at. So here we go. I'm just going to put some gold splatters on it. I've got my Kiritaki Gold watercolors, and I'm just going to do a few gold splatters. There we go. I think that might be enough. Yes. And while that's drying, we'll just put on, you can see that I have a couple of little embellishments here on the desk. I'm just going to put on this one a little brass embellishment on the top of my clock up there. And we'll put a dot here and put this clock on here. That's made out of a jump ring embellishment. And we'll put this little brass one on here. There we go. Now that when it's dry, I'll be able to lash that around. So let me show you now, while that's drying, let me show you on this one how we tie it. So it ties in a bow, and when you open it up, the lash stays on there because it's glued in, and we have a pocket at the front and we have a pocket at the back. And all we do is you bring the two strands, so you can see that they're roughly the same length. You bring the two strands around nice and even, and you put the bottom one up through the loop. Pull it tight, and then you just tie it in a bow. I'll just show you a close-up of them so that you can see them. They're pretty much the same, and you can see how the tie wraps around and ties. They've got a little bit of dimension to them with a little bit of hardware on them. And there's the back. There we go. They were fun to make. I enjoyed making those, and I'm going to take them with me to Europe to give to some family and friends over there. So that was a win-win for me. So there we go. There's our two narrow newspaper notebooks that I made for ABC April 2026 for the letter N. I hope you really enjoyed that project today. I will put in the description below, I'll put a link to both Margreth and Toni's channels. I'll also put in the two different digital providers. So there was Double Helix and there was J. Lee Lou. So I'll put a link to their Etsy stores, and I'll also put in the description the dimensions of the notebook for you as well. All right, that's all from me today. If you liked the video, give it a thumbs up. That would be wonderful. Think about subscribing to the channel, and I hope you have a wonderful weekend making something fun and new. And I will see you all very soon with another project. Thanks for watching, everybody. Bye for now.